Then comes September 11. The attacks happened on the two Twin Towers, and the economy comes crushing down, and the so-called recession begins. I watched an interesting show on House of Cards, which talks about the collapse of the housing industry that began in September 2011, and it was an interesting way to start the program. And that's how I'm going to start my speech tonight. September 2011, as I said, the Twin Towers came under attack. Both of them collapsed. People pulled their money out of the stock market, and the economy started to crumble. The president of the time, George W. Bush, and Alan Greenspan, who, please correct me, but I forget his title, he was the chairman of the Federal Bank of New York, and therefore the federal chairman. They thought that the economy is coming crashing down, and one of the things that they can do to improve the economy is boost the housing market. If they boost the housing market, there will be a lot of construction-driven job growth. There will be a lot of raw materials needed to construct these homes, and therefore the industries that manufacture these raw materials will also grow. Their jobs will grow, and that's how they will revive the entire economy. So what do? They let a loose rein on the housing market, on the loans. Almost anybody could get a mortgage without the 20% down payment that was traditionally needed. When people started to get these loans easily, the housing industry seemed to be reviving and doing very well. But this was not enough to satisfy the president and Alan Greenspan. They wanted more to be done. They wanted the housing industry to grow faster. And that made some very poor decisions to be taken by the mortgage lenders. They in fact dropped any kind of background check on the people who were drawing the mortgage. The people now also could lie about their salaries. In fact, if they did not want to lie, the mortgage lenders could lie about their salaries and have them a mortgage that they could not afford. On the other side of the table, the lenders, they were hiring people who had no background in lending money. They were making mortgages to people. These were pizza delivery boys who were writing mortgages for the consumers. In other words, everybody could get the money to buy a house. People thought that the housing market, the value of their houses is going to keep rising, and therefore, even if they cannot afford a house, they will pay from their equity. They will get a home equity loan and pay for their houses. And that's how we got to June of 2008. Simultaneously, there was also another situation that was arising. There was a unique conflict between Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. I'm drawing a blank right now as to what exactly was happening between these two institutions, but this also helped trigger the housing prices at their all-time highs, and also the rises of the houses rising much more quickly than the incomes of the people. And that's what brings us to 2008, when the housing markets came way up. Let's go back a little bit. You would think that nobody was noticing this. You would think that nobody predicted that something wrong fundamentally was happening in this industry. To my surprise, this program also brought in a hedge fund manager from Dallas who looked at all of this commotion, took a step back, and thought there was something wrong. And his reasoning were very simple, and it touched me. He asked a simple question: name any other industry, one industry that touches the consumer, is a $1 trillion industry, and not regulated, except for the housing market. And I was like, wow. This was a $1 trillion industry, unregulated. He saw how carelessly some of the people in the industry were spending money. There was one person who was writing loans and making bad loans to people. He also made the movie by the name Red Line. It was a Hollywood flop movie, but an incredible amount of money was spent making that movie. He had one of the rarest Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and other expensive cars in this movies, and he was crashing them like the money was free-flowing. These were two facts observed by this hedge fund manager, and he hedged against the housing market. And the time came in June 2008. These two events happened. The housing prices peaked, and now it started to crash. And as it started to crash, this hedge fund manager made 600 times the money that he had hedged. Thank you.